So I was gonna wait till 100,000 miles was on the dash of this vehicle before I did a 100,000 mile update. That would make the most sense. But this vehicle has been giving me so much trouble up to this point that I felt like, let's talk about it. And throughout this video, I'm gonna talk about the ups and downs I had with this vehicle up to this point, due to the fact that I did not have this vehicle for a very long time. I actually got it recently, sort of, but we're gonna go through all of that throughout the video, so let's get into it. And just so you have context around the video, this is a 2016 Chevy Tahoe LTZ, which was the highest trim level in 2016. And I got this vehicle in April of 2025. And if you're watching this in a different year, that's the year that I'm actually filming this video. So it's only a couple months that I've had this vehicle, and I got it at 89,884 miles. So just keep that in mind throughout the video. Let's talk about the latest issue with this vehicle, which you might have to turn your sound up if it's down in order to hear what I'm talking about. Let me show you. Right now you can see the vehicle is on. I'm gonna turn the vehicle off, which means the fan should also shut off as well. But in this case, it won't. But look, pay attention. Okay. So I'm gonna get a little closer to the fan underneath the hood so you can hear what I'm talking about. If anyone knows what this issue is, comment below, let me know. I have no idea what's going on, but when I turn the vehicle off, it'll sound like this for quite some time and then shut off randomly. But this sound didn't really start until I actually got my windshield replaced, but let's close that because that's a little loud. But let's talk about that a bit. The windshield having to be replaced, that has nothing to do with the actual vehicle. That was just a freak accident. A pebble hit the windshield, cracked the windshield, so I had to replace it. But let me get the numbers off my phone because I got the notes here. The total for the windshield was $654.77. And the breakdown for that was the windshield itself was $405.35, and I needed to get it calibrated, which basically what that means is this kind of vehicle, it has a head-up display and it works very well, but in order to make that functionality work on this vehicle, you have to make sure the windshield can pick that up, and that's part of the calibration. But it also has other features to be able to pick up the lane detection and stuff of that nature. So that costs $249.42, and if you put both of those together, you get the total of $654.77. That was for the windshield. But the thing that I noticed after getting the windshield replaced is that sound. So I didn't hear that sound that I showed you in the last point. It just went off as we were talking and filming. But that sound that you heard in the last point, that wasn't an issue until I got the windshield replaced. So I don't know if this is the case, but I think the calibration could have possibly caused that. But if it isn't, or if it didn't, comment below, let me know, because I'm actually very curious on the windshield being replaced and that sound being related. But let me know in the comments. Let's talk about one of the first issues that occurred with this vehicle from the very beginning, but that's under the hood. But now that the fan finally shut off, I can open the hood without there being so much noise. But let's check that out. The first issue, well, big issue that this vehicle has had is the transmission, which that happened around 95,000 miles, and I did have a warranty, but I had to pay $3,821 in order to get the warranty for the transmission, which that was actually a lifesaver because the transmission itself cost me $7,363.59. That was the total to get the transmission rebuilt, and that's the route I went. I did not replace the transmission, I rebuilt the transmission. And yes, it may be a bit pricey, but the way that I structured it, it was the best situation for me. Obviously this vehicle has had a lot of different issues, but this was probably the biggest of them all. So I would highly recommend getting some kind of warranty or something to cover your transmission, engine, stuff of that nature, because this would have been a nightmare had I not had that in place. So while we're on the topic of warranties, I had another part inside this vehicle where the warranty kind of saved me, which was the battery. If I did not have the warranty for this battery, I would have had to pay $182.15. And the existing battery that was in this vehicle had a 3-year warranty. And that 3-year warranty was honored by the place that gave the warranty, which was Walmart. So it worked itself out a bit, but that was at 99,078 miles. So that was an issue under 100,000 miles that I had to deal with. And I wouldn't necessarily say that's on the manufacturer, because the battery is from a different place. It could be the place that I got the battery from, but that was a problem that I had to deal with this vehicle in such a short amount of time. The point of this video isn't to really bash the Chevy Tahoe. I mean, the vehicle is a good looking vehicle. It's decent in certain areas, but it's just my experience with this vehicle up to 100,000 miles. It's a 100,000 mile update. So this is what I had to experience with this vehicle. And not to say that someone isn't going to have a different experience with a Chevy Tahoe. It's just my experience. And it's not even really from the beginning. It's more so from 89,000 miles up to 100,000 miles. So this is my experience with the Chevy Tahoe. I haven't had the best experience because I'm still not done. There's some other things that kind of went wrong before it should have, in my opinion. And there was another problem that really was super inconvenient. Not a major problem, but it's something that people just don't think about. But that's in the back of the vehicle. Let's go check that out. So it's in the trunk, as a matter of fact. So let's see. Under 100,000 miles, I had to replace the actuator. And this is this little piece right here. This part is the part that made the tailgate go up. So basically it controls this. So it makes it go up and down. And that messed up almost immediately after I got the vehicle. And it was wildly inconvenient because the mechanics that I went to, they said in order to change that part, it was anywhere from $700 up to $800 in order to change that one part. Obviously, me being handy and able to understand how to replace this, which I would not recommend to an average individual to replace on their own, I went ahead and bought the part myself and installed it, which that cost me a total of $75.50 total in order to fix this one part, with the part and installing it and everything, because I did it myself. But if I did not know how to do it myself, or if I wasn't a handy individual and I had to pay a mechanic or a shop, I would have to pay anywhere from $700 to $800 in order to fix the actuator. The next thing that I had to pay for that became an issue was the tire. So I had to replace the tire on this vehicle. That cost me $150. And if you know anything about a Chevy Tahoe, the parts aren't cheap. And that's a true fact. If someone ever told you it's expensive to have an expensive vehicle, they were not lying to you. The tires on this vehicle, even if it's not the top level tire, like it's not the best tire, it's not the worst, but it's definitely not the best. I want to make that very clear. It still costs anywhere from $150, $200, and that's still being a used tire. So I had to change one tire on it, and it was this back tire right here. It was a huge bit, like a drill bit, stuck in the tire. So obviously this isn't a Chevy Tahoe thing. This is just more of you roll over an object, and that happens to everyone. So I wouldn't blame the Chevy Tahoe, but that's something I had to deal with under 100,000 miles. And then the last thing that I had to deal with that I feel I should mention in this video is right here in the passenger side. So if you look right here, this is how you control the seat to go back and forth. And that broke almost immediately as soon as I got the vehicle. So when I actually got this Chevy Tahoe, this didn't work properly. But let's be real, when we test a vehicle, we don't tend to sit in the passenger side or adjust the seat at all. At least I didn't. So I'm okay to be vulnerable about that. I did not test this out, but you'll be surprised on how difficult it is to actually fix this little piece. But I did that myself. It cost me a total of $20.01 in order to fix this piece. But you have to literally remove the seat, take this piece off. It's a lot of different moving parts, and I'm not a mechanic. So in order for me to do it, it took a little longer than I would like to admit. And also putting the part in and just making sure everything works right and looks right as well. So it wasn't as easy as it looks, but I had to switch this part out. And because I cut out the labor part, it made it extremely affordable in my own opinion. But $20.01 is what it cost me to basically fix this part. But this didn't work right. Anytime I would do like this, it would either just not move at all, or it would jump a little bit and then stop. And then if I went forward, it actually worked when I went forward. When I first got it, it would go forward, but it wouldn't go back. That was real weird. And maybe someone else had this same issue. If you have had this issue, comment below. I like to hear the story. But that's what was wrong with this piece. Basically, it'll go forward, but it wouldn't go back. So I kept making it go forward until eventually no one could fit in the seat. and then I had to fix it in order for it to go back. So yeah, that was another issue I had under 100,000 miles with this Chevy Tahoe. And that's pretty much all the issues that I had with this Chevy Tahoe. I mean, obviously it has almost 100,000 miles on the dash, so I'm not surprised that this vehicle has issues. I'm more so just like trying to make sure that people are aware of what they're getting themselves into if they get a Chevy Tahoe and what to expect. So that was my experience with it. Obviously, everyone's going to have a different experience depending on the year, make, model, trim level, all the different things. I have the 2016 LTZ, and this has been my experience with this vehicle under 100,000 miles. So with that being said, I'll see y'all on the next one.